In a small American town where the mornings always smelled like fresh coffee and sunlight warmed the sidewalks before most people opened their eyes, a young man named Daniel stepped outside his apartment with the kind of quiet excitement that only comes from a day that already feels promising. He lived on the second floor of an old brick building that stood across from a tiny bakery, the kind of place where warm bread filled the air even before dawn. Daniel always said that the smell of that bakery was the best alarm clock he ever had. He locked his door, slipped his phone into his pocket, checked his keys, and walked down the narrow stairs humming a tune he didn't even realize he was humming. It was one of those bright, peaceful mornings that made everything feel easy. He planned to meet his friend at a park on the other side of town, and then maybe go for coffee afterward. Nothing complicated. Nothing stressful. Just a simple day. What he didn't know was that everything would change before he even reached the end of the street. Daniel took a few steps, reached for his wallet to check if he had cash, and then froze. The pocket where his wallet usually rested felt completely empty. He checked the other pocket. Then the back pocket. Then the inside of his jacket. Nothing. He stopped walking. A strange cold feeling spread through his chest. He whispered to himself, almost in disbelief. He never forgot his wallet. He always kept it in the same pocket, always checked it before leaving the house. But now it was gone. He turned around quickly, thinking maybe he dropped it on the stairs. He retraced his steps, scanning the ground like he was searching for treasure. He looked under the railing, beside the wall, even under a mailbox just in case. Still nothing. His mind started to jump to the worst possible thoughts. His ID was in that wallet. His card. A picture of his sister he always carried. A note from his late father that he kept folded behind the picture. The note wasn't long, but it meant everything to him. He felt as if a part of him had slipped out of his pocket and disappeared into the world without telling him where it was going. He returned to the sidewalk and took a deep breath. He looked around, thinking of what to do. Cars rolled by slowly. A woman walked her dog. A delivery man unloaded boxes from his truck. Everything looked normal. Everything looked calm. It was almost frustrating to see the world moving as if nothing had happened. Daniel decided he had to retrace every step from the moment he left the apartment. He walked back inside, climbed the stairs, opened his door, and searched the small living room. He checked under the couch, on the kitchen counter, even inside the fridge, because sometimes people check strange places when they panic. But, of course, it wasn't there. He walked into his bedroom. Then the bathroom, then back to the living room. Still nothing. He sat down on the edge of his bed and closed his eyes. He could feel the pressure building behind them, the beginning of a headache forming from stress and worry. Why today? Why now? He stood up again, refusing to give up. He walked outside once more, determined to check the whole street this time. The sunlight had grown brighter. The smell of bread from the bakery drifted across the road. He stepped onto the sidewalk and began scanning every inch of concrete. After a few minutes of searching, he noticed the old man who sat every morning on a bench near the bakery. His name was Mr. Hal. He had a snowy white beard and a voice as soft as warm butter. People in the neighborhood liked him because he always smiled, always waved, and always had a story ready to share. Some said he had lived in the town his whole life and knew every street corner the way a sailor knows the stars. Daniel approached him. "Good morning, Mr. Hal," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Morning, son," the old man replied. "You look worried." "I lost my wallet," Daniel explained. "Somewhere between here and my apartment." Have you seen anything on the ground? Maybe someone dropped something off? Mr. Hal tapped his cane lightly. I haven't seen a wallet. But don't worry yet. Things that go missing often find their way home. Daniel tried to smile. But he felt too anxious for comfort. He thanked the old man and kept walking along the street. He stopped at the bakery to ask if anyone had turned in a wallet, but the workers shook their heads. He crossed the street and searched near a bus stop, then near a trash can, then along the edge of the curb. Still nothing. His heart began to sink. He finally pulled out his phone to call his friend, but then he paused. He didn't want to ruin the morning with worry. He put his phone away, deciding to keep searching before making any calls. His mind kept going back to the picture in the wallet. The note. The memory. He refused to accept that he had lost something so important. He walked farther than before. Slowly, carefully, looking under every shadow. He passed a small shop that sold handmade gifts and candles. The windows were filled with colorful glass pieces that reflected the sunlight in tiny rainbows on the sidewalk. Normally he would pause to look at them, but today his mind was too heavy. Just then, he heard footsteps behind him. "Excuse me," a voice called out. Daniel turned around. A girl about his age stood there, holding something in her hand. She had dark curly hair pulled into a loose bun, bright eyes, and a gentle smile. In her hand was a black leather wallet. Daniel froze. "Is this yours?" she asked. He stared at the wallet and then at her. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Yes," he said quickly. "Yes, that's mine." "Where did you find it?" She stepped closer and held it out to him. "I found it near the bus stop. I was going to look for the owner, but when I saw you looking around with that worried face, I thought it might be yours." Daniel took the wallet like he was holding something fragile and precious. He opened it quickly. Everything was inside. His ID. His card. The picture of his sister. The note from his father. He felt an enormous wave of relief wash over him, so strong that he almost felt dizzy. "Thank you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "You have no idea how important this is to me." Her smile grew warmer. "I'm glad I could help. I know what it feels like to lose something important." He took a slow breath, trying to calm the rush of emotion inside him. "I really appreciate this." "You're welcome," she said softly. "Just be careful next time." Daniel realized he didn't even know her name. "I'm Daniel," he said. "I'm Lily," she replied. They shook hands, and for the first time that morning, Daniel felt the tension lift completely. The sky looked brighter. The day felt lighter. He thanked her again and stood there for a moment, trying to think of what to say next, but Lily simply gave him a small wave and walked away down the sidewalk. He watched her for a moment, then looked down at the wallet in his hands. He couldn't believe his luck. Sometimes life took things from you and sometimes it gave them back in ways you never expected. Sometimes the world felt colder and sometimes it reminded you that people could be kind for no reason at all. He slipped the wallet safely into his pocket and decided to walk to the park after all. His friend was probably already waiting. As he made his way down the street, he passed the bakery again. This time he went inside and bought a warm croissant. When he stepped back outside, he saw Mr. Hal still sitting on the bench. "Did you find it?" the old man asked. Daniel smiled. "Yes. A girl found it and gave it back to me." The old man nodded as if he had expected this all along. "See? Things that go missing often find their way home." Daniel laughed quietly and kept walking, feeling grateful for the ordinary magic of the morning. He headed toward the park with a lighter step, thinking about how fast a day could change. A moment of panic had turned into a moment of kindness. A feeling of loss had turned into a reminder that people still looked out for each other. As he crossed the next street, he noticed a little boy trying to reach something stuck in a tree branch. Without thinking, Daniel stopped and helped him. The boy thanked him and ran back to his mother. Daniel continued walking, realizing something unexpected. Losing his wallet had made him pay more attention to the world around him. He noticed small details he usually ignored. He noticed people. He noticed kindness. He noticed how one small event had shaped the entire morning into something memorable. He reached the park and spotted his friend sitting on a bench. They greeted each other with big smiles. Daniel told him the whole story, from the moment he realized the wallet was missing to the moment Lily handed it back. His friend listened carefully, shaking his head in disbelief and laughing at the right moments. "That's crazy," his friend said. "You're lucky." "I know," Daniel replied. "And very grateful." They spent the next hour talking about everything and nothing under the shade of a big oak tree. Children played nearby. Someone flew a bright red kite that danced against the blue sky. Joggers passed with steady steps. The world kept moving, just as it had earlier, but now Daniel felt part of that movement instead of separated from it by worry. As the day slowly drifted into afternoon, Daniel realized something he hadn't thought about before. Losing the wallet had been stressful, but it had also brought something unexpected into his life. A stranger who cared enough to return it. A reminder of the good in people. A calm sense of gratitude that washed over him every time he thought of the moment Lily called out to him on the sidewalk. Later, as he made his way back home, he found himself looking for her again without meaning to. He didn't see her, but the thought of meeting her made him smile. Maybe he would see her another day. Maybe not. But the moment would stay with him either way. When he reached the bakery again, he waved at Mr. Hal. "Have a good rest of your day," Daniel called out. "You too, son," the old man replied. "And keep a tighter hold on that wallet." Daniel laughed and patted his pocket, feeling the shape of the wallet resting safely there. He walked up the stairs to his apartment, unlocked his door, and stepped inside. The room felt different now, warmer somehow. He set his keys on the counter and placed the wallet on the table with a soft thud. Then he sat down on the couch, leaned back, and closed his eyes for a moment. It had been a simple morning. It had been an ordinary day. But sometimes ordinary days carried stories worth remembering. Sometimes they taught quiet lessons without making a sound. Daniel breathed slowly and opened his eyes again. He looked at the wallet on the table and felt a peaceful smile spread across his face. He knew he would never forget this day. And if you enjoyed this story, I share stories like this every day. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one.